Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let me call the roll. Uh, Corrine,
Present.
Brittany,
Present.
Joe. Can you
Present,
hear me, Joe?
present, yes, present.
Okay, and I think I'm present. So, and um, okay, so the next item is minutes. That's kind of a difficult one because Finn was not able to finish them. So let me go past them. I want to ask Finn what to do about it, whether she wants help in completing them or what. Right now, I think they need work, but I think she would admit that because she's not done. So we'll discuss the minutes later. Um, and let me go past co-housing. So that was her thing. Uh, that's what she knows. I have a few things to say about that. So let's dig into the whole naughty question of the resale of 118 Summer Road. I think Wendy has the latest information about it. So, Wendy, if you could please brief us on the situation as you understand it, we all would be. Hi, Finn.
I'm working on my law degree.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's all right. We went past the minutes and the co-housing. So right now, let's just talk about 118 Summer, and then we'll go
Okay.
back to those things.
So after talking with the real estate agent, I talked to him a lot. He actually was looking for something in the condo and he found what appeared to be a will. So yeah, so I mean it's a notarized will. It's not like something from a law firm, but it was notarized and it looks semi okay. So we had another call with the lawyer, our lawyers, KP Law, and told me that now that you found what there is to be a will, that needs to go to their law that not their lawyer, it is the estate's lawyer. And they have to do their due diligence because they probated the estate without a will. So now that a will has been found, they need to go to the court and say, are we going to go by this will or are we going to keep it the way it is? So with all that, um, and with Al's permission and with our attorney's suggestion, I sent a letter on behalf of the housing board to the probate lawyer. It's not their lawyer, to the probate lawyer of the estate, just informing them, I'm providing this notice to you in the capacity as the court appointed personal representative for the estate of Geraldine Pierce. The town has recently been informed by Jeff Hadley, a real estate agent and a friend of Geraldine Pierce's son, John Pierce, that on or about October 15th, Mr. Hadley discovered what appeared to be a notarized will of Geraldine Pierce in a closet. Mr. Hadley states that he gave the document to John Pierce and he recently provided an email copy to the town. So I have it. Al has it. It doesn't really say much. It just says that John's the executor, and if he is not able to, his ex-wife is the executor. But I think when this was written, they were still married. As you know, the town holds an affordable restriction on the property at 118 Summer and is interested in preserving that interest and ensuring that the property continues to be utilized as affordable housing. To that end, please note that we have been advised that the electricity of the property has been shut off for failure to pay bills, putting the property at risk of damage, and that a significant amount of personal belongings and trash have been left in the unit. Please advise as to how the town may assist in this matter going forward. So I emailed that November 20th, and I mailed that November 20th to the probate attorney and have heard nothing. So So I was going to say it was Easter, but it was Thanksgiving. Wishing for the nice weather. And yeah, and the other thing is, so then Al had a series of questions that he wanted to have answered, and we got that back from the attorney today. And it was mostly about, can we go into the house? Or you sent that, Al, didn't you? Your 4 things in the email. Like there's no apparent owner right now, which is true. There's no owner.
I believe I sent out an email.
Yeah,
but
you sent out the
the,
email.
the problem from the KMP's point of view, evidently, is that we don't know who the owner is. And not only that, because we don't know who the owner is, we have yet to receive a valid notice of resale. Because
letter of
John may
intent.
not be the owner.
Yeah,
Who
the
knows
letter.
who the
Yeah.
owner is? So, I mean,
We're
at
back
the
to-
moment, until the owner is resolved, we're on full stop, it seems.
Mhm.
We can't do anything. We'd like to resell it, but we don't know who the owner is. And how long it's going to take probate court to resolve that is something that at least I don't know.
Well, the attorney that's been appointed personal representative for the estate. So is the court going to change? Like, is the court going to go by the will? So basically, our KP law said it's going to be very interesting to see what the court says about this will and what will they do now. Because it has to be put into the court of law because it has been found and it is known, and now we let their attorney know.
But it's not resolved yet. There has to be some sort of court decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Another thing that has concerned me is that, at least as I read all the documents related to this unit, the regulatory agreement, and the deed writer, the maximum resale price is fixed by a formula. And the deed writer seems to specify, in spite of the use of the word maximum in the name, that the unit shall be sold at the maximum resale price, which doesn't give us any leverage, really, if that's the case, because there's no incentive for the unit owner or anybody else to fix it up. However, K&P disagrees with that, and I presume they're right, but we just got this thing, so I need to do some research and maybe get back to K&P, because I don't read the documents the same way that they do. And I think it's a big problem because it's not our responsibility to fix up the unit if it needs to be fixed up. It's the owner's responsibility. Normally, the owner would have every incentive to fix up the unit because he wouldn't be able to get, the maximum price for it unless it was fixed up. However, as I read it, that does not seem to be the case here. So we have some issues to resolve, but meanwhile, we just can't do anything until the ownership is identified.
And the biggest problem is that John really is, I'm going to say at this point, he's incapable. He's incapable of seeing this through or managing it. He honestly has so many other problems that he's really just not capable at this time. So, obviously a normal human being would really care about, their mother's property and want to take care of it, but he's just not well.
If that becomes a legal question in figuring out how to manage this, if he's like on the will and supposed to be managing this and not able to, then something that would be helpful is, well, I mean, he's not in Boxborough anymore, so he's not your,
No.
but something Like if he's disabled in a way that makes him unable to handle this, he needs some sort of support with it. Or if any other power wanted to intervene and manage it for him, um, have to get like him to like sign off on something or whatever. I mean, I've worked with clients who are not capable of making these kind of decisions for themselves. And I've worked with pretty severely mentally ill people and people with substance abuse issues who have like guardianships and stuff.
Mhm.
And that is a whole process.
Mhm.
But if that does become a legal barrier, at least getting him to sign off on like what is it called? Like when you get SNAP and then like you sign somebody off to
Oh yeah.
manage it for you, an
Mhm.
advocate or something.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, his ex-wife is also on it, like if he's unable to. But
Hmm.
the thing is, the court might just decide too. We just don't know because the court might decide to just keep it the personal representative the way it is.
Okay.
I was going to say he's already been assigned a personal representative, right?
Yeah, the estate has been assigned a personal representative. Uh-oh.
Is that different than what Finn is talking about?
I guess I guess if he's not the one managing the estate. He's just a benefactor of it.
Well, do you know is the personal representative a person that has been appointed to manage the estate in John's
Yes,
stead?
that's what this guy is.
Okay, so he may well have what you're talking about, Finn, or am I wrong?
My interpretation is that what Finn is talking about is like someone whose priority is John's best interests, and what Wendy is talking about is someone whose priority is the estate's like best interests. Like I think they're different, but I don't know if
Okay,
Yeah, they might be different things too. I'm used to working on the person level a lot,
Yeah.
not necessarily the legal estate level. And
It
I realize
sounds like
that's kind of
social
more
work.
our priority too.
Yeah. That sounds like social work to me, right? Like a personal advocate, someone who can translate, like the law and things to an individual who is not like able
Yeah,
to
and
understand
and
information.
somebody with like a severe disability, whether mental or physical or
Yeah,
otherwise, who can't navigate this stuff on their own might also have like a guardianship where
right.
a lot of that the guardian actually can sign off on things for them.
Yeah, that to
Basically.
me is different than the court appointed estate lawyer who's just interested in resolving the the legality and like ownership of the
Yeah.
estate. They're not interested or qualified to like work. It doesn't sound to me like their position is to work closely with an individual who has, mental, physical, cognitive challenges and helping them understand. It sounds like their best interest is to get this property resolved quickly so that they can get paid, and like get the case
Yeah.
off their docket kind of thing, which I think are two different things.
Yes,
Yeah.
but as far as the housing board at this time, I'm not trying to be cold, but because he doesn't live in Boxborough anymore, the housing board's main focus is to get the ownership
The unit.
decided. That's like to preserve the unit. We got to keep focusing on that.
Yeah.
And we can't do anything about John. I mean, I talk to his friend all the time. He just goes dark. He's obviously got a substance abuse issue. I mean, he just honestly, at this point, he's like, it's too much work. He feels that between the back mortgage, this is what I'm pretty sure his friend told me, between the back mortgage that they owe because he hasn't paid for months, and what they owe the nursing home, and then what they owe Littleton Electric, and what they owe whoever else, there's not going to be anything left for him. So he was like, I just can't deal with
Yeah,
it.
he just wants to wash his hands of it,
He
right?
just wants to wash his hands of it.
We're in a
So
holding
what's
pattern anyway, right? Like we have to wait for the court
so,
to resolve the will,
Yeah, but that's not even the court. The court doesn't know about it. That personal representative now, who to me feels like a fly-by-night kind of ambulance chasing lawyer. That's the way I talked to him on the phone. And he's like, oh, yeah, I get these cases all the time. I mean, he's way in Fall River. Like, he put his hand up and said, I'll take it for this money. Like, so he's not responsive. He's just, yeah. I mean, I would
What is the path to, as far as you know, toward resolving who the owner is?
It's the personal representatives. I mean, John is the sole heir. So John is the sole heir. So it goes to John. That's like, to me, in my mind, I'm not a lawyer, but that's already been identified. But the personal representative that's settling the estate has to make whoever's asking for money whole. So, there's a mortgage. So there's a mortgage on it, but then there's money that they had, and there's equity in it. So that equity's got to pay the rest of the selling price has to pay that mortgage plus whatever they owe. Then God only knows how much they owe the nursing home, so it's just, it's a mess.
So we're just waiting for a response from this personal representative
for
that letter.
A response from the guy.
No, well, if you sent it just before Thanksgiving, it might just be like everything gets crazy around the holidays anyway.
I emailed it the 20th and I mailed it the 20th.
What kind of response?
I did both. Our lawyers told me to do both. So that was on a Thursday. So it went out in Friday's mail. Yeah. So he got it maybe but he got the email, but maybe he was on vacation. So yeah,
yeah.
Wendy,
what kind of response are we hoping for from the personal representative?
God only knows. I don't know.
Is it
what happens if if the personal representative doesn't respond at all?
I talked to him once.
Do we remain in limbo forever?
But at least he knows our concerns. He now knows. He had no idea. Like, he's never even talked to John. Like, so he has no idea that, this property is sitting there without electricity and we're going into winter and there's trash. So that was like a big thing. Like, our KP lawyer said that the people that have the most interest in the condition of the estate are the creditors, the mortgage company, which we don't even know if they even know she died. We don't even know that. And then John.
Yeah. So a lot of this is all like that personal representative's job, and he's like a lawyer, right?
He is a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
so I think
to figure this all out.
I think all we can really do is continue to poke his office.
Yeah.
And if we haven't heard back in, say, another week, give him a call. If we don't hear back after that week, call again and just keep getting status updates and show that we're interested and concerned about the status. Because as long as we as the town keep the pressure on and say, hey, we are not okay with this property sitting here rotting, do something about it. We'll stay at it'll stay at the top of his stack, because I'm sure he's got his own pile of.
I mean, and I called him too. I called him that same week, like earlier than the 20th. Left a long message with his, receptionist, no callback. So it's just like.
Hey, Wendy, is it DiMarino? Is that the name?
Yep.
You had mentioned him in one of the meetings a while ago, and then I thought you found out that DiMarino was actually representing the nursing home.
I was wrong.
Oh,
I was wrong.
Okay.
So I found that out that same week of the 20th, because Jonathan and I talked for a long time. And he's like, no, Wendy. He's like, he is the representative of the nursing home. I mean, of the estate. Of the estate, but he was bonded by the nursing home. So the guy had told me if there's any creditors that want to, put claims against it, it's like you have to go to an attorney. But
so, question, April, has the condo association reached out to this personal representative yet?
I've left multiple
See?
messages.
Same. So you have two.
I've talked to Haley and
Yep.
I begged Haley to help me. And she said, all I can do is ask him to call you.
Who
And
is Hallie?
Haley
Yeah,
is,
like the
is
paralegal.
the personal ref's assistant, as far as I know. She takes his phone calls.
Okay.
Yep.
And she's passed messages to him, she said, and I've not heard back from him. And then I stopped calling because I thought he was with the nursing home.
I know. I
Okay.
was wrong.
Okay.
I found that out like a
So-
week ago.
Is there anything else that the condo association can do to try to expedite this? I mean, really, it's in both of our interest to somehow resolve this and get some other occupant in that condo.
Well, my question, actually,
I don't know what to do.
right? So the whole condo is a mess. The electric is off, and it hasn't been
The
like,
thing about the electric being off means there's no heat.
Yep.
yeah, and it damages the
That's what
property.
we were.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about that.
So aren't we? I talked to our KP lawyers. I mean, that's what we put in the letter. Like, that's all the stuff. Like, but I know.
So, is this something that the Hope program can be tapped for? Like, would we be able to, for the town, like, foot the bill for get the power put back on, so that the property is at least maintained while it's in limbo?
I was wondering that too.
Well, I don't
Actually.
see how legally because it's for the owners of the affordable houses, and we don't know who the owner is now.
Well, the
Is
personal
Is it for the
representative.
owners? Is it for the owners or is it for the unit? I think I remember.
unit,
in
For
the
yes,
Yeah,
last-
it's for the unit.
of the
So I
last-
suspect the condo association could apply for it,
How
or
so?
the personal representative. Why not? Because
I
like
just-
the property's in limbo. Can the town help with paying for, getting what do we need to do? Like get it winterized or something, or just turn the electric back on so that it stays at a certain temperature and the pipes
The-
and stuff.
We have gas furnaces, or he does. So we want the electric and the gas turned back on, I'm assuming.
Okay.
I just remember in the last in-person meeting that I was at when we were talking about the Hope program that Joe brought up the point of that the program is really to maintain the units and is not for owners, right? Like it's not for individuals, it's
Yeah.
for the property.
Property, right. Yeah. And the condo association does have some legal control over the unit to some extent. And if it's signed off by hold on, how much access do we have to the unit? Like, does
Zero. He
Who
said
says-
not even
Yes.
to step
who
in.
does anybody have access?
Jeff,
Like the personal representative has access?
The realtor is the only
the
one I know.
realtor. He's been in the
Yeah,
unit.
he's been in the unit.
Well, maybe he's somebody who can actually apply for it then.
Well, I mean, the whole application, like we created that,
Yeah.
right? Like it's the housing board's authority to
And we could get
apply
permission.
funds. I think
If
it's
we
a
can-
good question for us
Yeah,
to ask.
if we can get permission from the realtor. I mean, if did he get all of his stuff out, or is it all trash now?
No. And we also heard, April, have you heard that somebody else was living there for a couple days?
Um,
Somebody has a key.
I think John-
friends,
so, sorry, say again.
one of his friends has a key, and when the realtor went in, he said the beds were all moved around, so he thought maybe somebody was sleeping in there.
Oh, in October, when Jeff was there, hoping, at the time, he told me he was going to meet someone who was hopefully going to be hired to clean the place out and to replace the back door. So it was mid-October, and Jeff noticed that it seemed like someone was living there.
Exactly.
And someone, the neighbor next to John,
Fran.
Francis, yeah, thought that there was someone there for a couple of days.
Yep.
Jeff told me he was going to call John and say, you got to tell your friends to take their stuff and get out. and don't come back. And as far as I know, no one has been back since mid-October.
Okay.
And the unit's been vacant since mid-October. In your
What's that?
understanding.
Well, he moved out in September. Yeah. I mean, really, they just need to change the locks.
Yeah. If we could get permission from the realtor for somebody to go in and
I've
clean the
asked him
unit,
100 times.
and it's no, or it's just
Well,
no
they-
response.
What was the question again? To
Is the answer no or no response?
But wait, what was the question? To clean? To go in and clean?
And box up whatever, belongings are
He
left.
has people. Jeff has people lined up to do it. He was just didn't want to use his own money.
Hmm.
He told me John's ex-wife was willing to pay for that cleanup, but maybe that changed.
Yeah, that's off the table now, according to Jeff, because
Oh.
he's not following through. She would pay even like his back mortgage, and but she's not now because she wants to guarantee that she would get her money back. Do you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And there's no
So-
guarantee that, and she's also just sold her house. Jeff sold her house in Acton. She's moving to Bellingham to be closer to her job.
Okay, so if Jeff the realtor has control over the property and who accesses it, and if Jeff the realtor has people lined up who will help with clean it but doesn't want to pay with his own money to do it, that seems like a valid use of the Hope funds. Is, hey, how much is this going to run you? And maybe you can help him with applying for it.
I don't know. That's up to the housing board.
I think as a member of the housing board, I think that's a completely valid use of the Hope program funds. We want to maintain this property and make it available to somebody who needs it.
I mean, I agree in principle that it's to our advantage to not let the unit continue to atrophy, right? Like to put the utilities back on as a minimum, at least for going into the winter. Like, we don't want exploded pipes or, other.
Yeah, I think it's about
Outages.
900 or 1,000 to turn it back on. I think he was behind 800 and something. Plus there'll be a turn back on fee.
But
All right,
that's
well-
just for electric though, and we have
Yeah.
gas, and then
Oh,
we
there's
don't know if there's
gas?
going to be somebody living in there.
Let's start with the cleaning it out part first.
I don't think the cleaning out is is a
Yeah.
huge thing. It's,
Oh,
it's
the electric is the bigger.
yeah, I think the electric,
100%.
and if we want to just keep the property, but I mean, at this point, I think this is a real, reality of what 40Bs are and what the town is getting into. And as a volunteer board, what we're up against, and we have KP law that I don't even think KP law should be doing this. I think we need a true real estate attorney, like we talked about at the last meeting. And, Wendy's being basically thrown and saying, well, you do this. All of this would have more weight coming from an attorney. When the attorney calls the attorney, when the attorney mails something certified, nobody cares about Wendy Trinks at the town of Boxborough. But if there's another attorney, there's a little bit more professional courtesy and respect there. So
yeah,
I don't know, but we need to get in there and we need to change the locks, and there should be something in the deed. And I was trying to pull it up in my email and I can't find it, but usually in the deeds, there is something about you can access as the monitoring agent if we feel that something's been against the deed rider, et cetera, et cetera. So
What's
at
in-
this
we've
point,
showed that.
What's in the deed
Go ahead,
rider is that the housing board has the right to demand a report from the owner about the condition of the unit. However, that's short-circuited by the fact that we don't know who the owner is.
That's what KP law told us.
And that is what's in the deed rider. It's
there's
about the
nothing
final-
about accessing the property. I have to go read
Nothing
it.
about accessing. I mean, the deed writer's cure for the state of the affairs is that the housing board can ask the owner for a report on the state of the unit.
But what does that do? I mean, that makes no sense. I mean, whoever even wrote these.
K&T wrote it.
Yeah, exactly. There we go again. We need to be rid of KP law. They're not real estate attorneys. They're not seasoned. They don't know what they're doing. Regardless, at this point, if we're going to be putting money into the property, we have a $2,000 maximum. We'd have to make that decision because it's not supposed to be for utility bills and things like that, right? But given the circumstances, I think we can make an executive decision to try to
Well,
salvage.
well,
this
you could
property.
if it's back if it's if it is like if he owes from previous months, we could maybe tap the emergency assistance program funding.
Yeah, I have $500.
Yeah, and that could be for some of the back pay of it, and then getting it turned on going forward can be part of hope.
But we have no idea how much the
No, I
gas.
think we could probably argue that this is a valid use of the HOPE programs or for that matter, the BEEP program. But I think before we make any outlay, we should get a collection of applications in hand. I mean, there may be others that have more valid reasons and, for the money. I mean, they may be living in the unit and they, possibly their health is endangered. I mean, that seems like a more compelling reason to help the unit out than it does to try to use the money to straighten out this mess. I'm just guessing, but I think we need to look at all the applications before we decide anything along those lines.
But I do think we've earmarked enough for each unit, right? So we've earmarked $2,000 for all of the units, right? So I don't think there would be an issue with running low on funds and having to prioritize. I think the only priority would be sort of an emergency. Something's leaking, something's.
And if there's actually somebody in their unit and there's problems, we can more actively work with that person.
Right.
The problem with this unit is that there's nobody advocating for the property itself except us.
But I do think if we're going to be putting money into the property and paying bills, we want to make sure that there isn't anyone there that's going to further, right, be further detriment to the property.
really
So we would
think
have
we
to
need
put
to
some
change
sort of
the
lock
law.
on the door or something. I don't know.
Box for 100% sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is consuming a lot of time, right? Just
It's
physically
ridiculous.
now, right? And Wendy's time and Al's time and KP Law. So we've got to figure something out. We've got
So
to
let's
figure out a
prioritize.
plan.
Yeah. So let's prioritize using the power that we do have and the resources that we do have as the housing board to expedite the process by helping with getting the electric turned back on. And if there's additional funds, helping with getting the unit cleaned out and the locks changed. So those three things, and maybe helping the realtor who has actual access to the unit, apply for those funds because he will do the work to get that done.
So, Wendy, are you able to talk and find out what the balances are? And do you think, I think National Grid is probably going to be a stretch, but do you think
they don't tell you anything.
So we don't even know what the bill is?
I only know LWD because I asked them for it. And I have a relationship with the woman that works over there.
So has the gas been turned off?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Well, the realtor should be able to access that information too, though, right? Like in the course of applying for the HOPE, he has to show those expenses and everything, so he would have to pull up the bills and everything.
Yeah, I don't think this guy is going to continue to do this.
Exactly.
Right? He's not actually getting a commission. He's
he's
just collateral damage at this point. Like, this is getting to be a hot mess. Like, so we need to figure out something and go with it because this is beyond, we need to figure this out. So if we can't get utility bills, right? Because I was going to say, because we're local, because we're sort of not a housing authority, but because we're a housing board, do you think Littleton Electric would do us a solid? And
I have Littleton Electrics.
Right. But would they keep the electricity on? Would they turn it back on? They want their money. So they're totally okay. So, but without the gas bill, then what are we supposed to do?
So what is it? Gas that heats the place?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would assume if there's a gas, that it's for.
So then it's not even electric.
I was gonna say it's
both.
It's both.
Oh, okay.
We need electricity to run the gas,
Okay.
the furnace.
Got it.
But
Yeah.
how big of a monthly expense is there if we just are using a minimum amount of electricity to run the gas furnace?
Right.
I mean, is there a minimum charge or something? I don't know.
I forget. I just switched to a heat pump and I can't even remember.
I mean, I can try and call National Grid and just
Can't
explain
remember.
the situation.
I feel like our priority, like if we're trying to preserve this unit, then it needs heat for the winter, right? Like that's urgent, right? That there's no one living there, but it needs to be warm to, or does it stay warm enough because it's a unit in a building? Like it's not like a standalone unit.
But
Like
it's a standalone.
does it stay? It is standalone.
No,
it's not.
It's in between two others.
Okay, yeah, like
It's three in a row. They're attached, and it is a center unit. As am I. It doesn't stay that warm.
yeah. So that would seem to me to be the priority.
A
Then
bit of heat would be wise.
it would lead to much more expensive and more long-term damage potentially to not have heat through the winter, right? Like that seems like urgent or like pressing if we're trying to preserve this unit.
And if it wrecks the other units because a pipe bursts.
I know.
I know.
Yeah, so my move or my thought would be, can we move forward with using either emergency assistance funds and or HOPE program funds to get the utilities back on so that we can just maintain, like cleaning out the unit is secondary, like figuring out home ownership I think is secondary because there's not a lot that we can do on that front. But like, can we contact the realtor? Can we talk to the estate lawyer? Like, you know, whatever we can do to get the utilities back on, I think that should be our priority.
Wendy, the other question, I'm sorry to keep throwing this back on you, but can you call the actual court, wherever this all kind of came out of, and just call one of the clerks and say, listen, I'm a representative of the housing board. I work for the town of Boxborough, right? You're not just some Joe Schmo that's, you know, a nosy neighbor or something like that. We have a legitimate concern, and this representative who's an attorney that's been assigned through the court, whatever, is not responding. Time is of the essence. You know, can you help us either expedite or advise? I mean, that's the only other thing I can think of to kind of get the person that's supposed to be doing this, which is not Wendy, right, to do their job, who is getting paid to do this.
A lot more than me.
Yeah. Because what court is this all out of?
It's out of Lowell. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I don't know. I think it's out of Lowell. I've looked at it a million times. I left my folder at work, but I'm pretty sure it's out of Lowell.
Would it be out of Lowell? Or would it be out of Cambridge?
All of our stuff in Boxborough goes to Lowell.
No,
Lowell
it goes to
lower.
Cambridge. It's all in Cambridge.
No, it's not.
Yes.
April, doesn't the condo association have any rights at all? I mean, it would seem like that their interests are in keeping the unit that's part of a building viable. I mean, you know, it's surprising that the condo association doesn't have some sort of leverage to take a look at it.
Or don't you retain legal represent? Doesn't the condo association
No.
retain? No, it doesn't have its own legal representation that could.
God, no. We don't have that kind of money. We have a very tight budget. We just went through a over $20,000 mold remediation project, and everyone is so uptight now. John's, we're over $3,000 that he is behind with the condo fees and his share of that project.
But I think the burden really is on the housing board. We're the monitoring agents, right? So this is on us. The onus is on us, not on the condo association, the whatever. So we, right? We wanted the 40B. We wanted the SHI. We wanted this. So what are we going to do? We need to figure this out. So
Honestly, I say, as the housing board, we should tell the realtor, hey, you need to get the locks changed. We have this support to offer. either through Wendy for BEAP and Hope to help with getting the power and the utilities turned on for the winter, the locks changed, and the unit cleaned out and in good standing, in good condition. And if steps aren't taken for that within, a certain amount of time, and it needs to be soon because we have our first snow today, then we will start taking actions on behalf of the town. Like we will change the locks ourselves.
Yeah, I really do. I agree with Finn. I think at this point we need to take a stance. And I mean, what's somebody going to turn around and sue us?
These are a bunch of people who are not interested in the town, not interested in the property, not interested in the neighbors. We are, and nobody's going to complain if I as a member of the housing board walk down to the condo, kick down the door, change the lock, and say, sue me.
I 100% agree, because this guy is in Fall River. He's not going to be coming up here, checking on the property. He doesn't care.
We will, and like this realtor can help with getting it ready to be sold as much as he wants and try to, get his due off of it. But if he's not helping to make sure that property is sellable, well,
at this point, it's probably going to.
Shouldn't the town just seize the property from them? Look, you're not taking care of it. We will.
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, it's going to lose its affordability, right? We're going to sell it. We're going to lose it out of our SHI, but then we can then at least recoup that money once it's sold market value. But Finn, regardless, that's not how we want to do this.
So, Finn, what do you think the next step should be?
I say reach out to the realtor is the one who has access to the unit and has the ability to give us permission to do this. So we reach out to him, offer the resources that we have available, which is we have the BAP that Wendy can help him apply for anything. He moved out in September, so like John should be basically eligible for some of that support for the period that he was a Boxborough resident, right? And then Hope program for getting the utilities turned back on and getting it safe, winter safe, changing the locks and helping to pay somebody to clean out the unit if that's what's needed. And as far as those funds can see how far those funds can go to get all of those things done. And if he's not willing to engage in that process or help with that, we'll do it ourselves and we'll take legal action to seize the property for the town. I mean, that sounds kind of extreme, but
no, it doesn't.
I don't want to pussyfoot around this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if Jeff has access, if the realtor Jeff has access, then let's go through him and say
ask permission. And if he's not helpful or cooperative or doesn't act in an appropriate amount of time to our satisfaction, then then we'll do it.
I would even say it's not so much asking permission as asking for
setting an ultimatum.
Let's collaborate. It's in both of our best interests for this unit to be clear and sellable and sold quickly. We have some funds that we can offer. You have access. Can we work together on this? That's
winter is here, so let's go.
Yeah. And I mean, if other members of the housing board, I know Wendy has all this rapport and all this time that she's put into it, but I'm happy to, also be tapped in for this, to do some of this communication. It doesn't have to just be on Wendy or just be on Al.
If you need a little bit more
collectively write a letter.
If you need a bit more forceful of a voice to discuss it with the realtor, I'll do it.
Oh, he's awesome. I mean, are each other's social workers. He's like, I can't take this anymore. And I'm like, you can do it. You can do it. I'm like, I'm so sick of this.
So how quickly?
Wendy, does this make sense to you? Does this make sense to you, Wendy? And
I mean, it does. And like I said, no one's gonna. I mean, there was total strangers sleeping there. No one complained. No one's gonna. I don't know if Alec
do you think Finn's first step makes sense?
Mr. Chairperson,
Alec has his hand raised. Maybe he has something to say about my.
Oh, hi, Alec.
Suggestions.
Hey, Al. So at this point, I am going to recommend the board take this conversation into executive session. You're currently discussing what we would typically term litigation strategy. In talking to the town administrator, we do have authorization to expend legal budget for the purpose. So I would recommend you cease the conversation tonight and we move to schedule an executive session in the immediate weeks.
Okay, that sounds good.
Do you want me to log off? Is that what you're saying?
No, April. That takes at least 48 hours for us to coordinate. You're welcome to continue. I'm just advising the board to continue this discussion in a private setting.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that then.
Okay. So, all right, sounds like that's a plan.
Okay, let's go back to the minutes. Finn, I don't know what to do with these minutes. You made a good start.
I made a good start, and then okay, my problem right now is I would like to request that I not be asked to do minutes in the coming months. Doing notes is extremely difficult for me. I am not a very good note taker. I would like to be better at it. I would like to help and be a participant, but I almost never sign up for secretary duties because I am the worst. I'm having a hard enough time checking my email regularly enough and trying to get back into that. I don't have professional routines. I don't have, a professional 9 to 5 Monday through Friday type schedule or sleep.
So are you able to complete the minutes, or does somebody need to help you complete?
I could use some help and guidance. I think I've got a good start, and I need body doubling on it really to do it properly.
So did you want me, since I'm writing tonight's minutes, do you want me to review it, make some edits, send it to you, and then we can finalize that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that could be good.
Okay.
I'll be glad to get involved with that.
I still have the recording. I also have the recording of, that meeting as well on my laptop.
Okay.
So we will not approve those minutes today, but hopefully approve them by next meeting.
Right. You say I forgot that there was is there a recording of that meeting?
Yeah, I remember I asked as we were a few minutes in, and I asked, can I please record this? Because I'm not going to be able to pay attention and engage at the same time as take notes. So I took some rough notes, and then I also recorded it so I could go back and then listen to the meeting and make sure I put more thorough notes. But I still haven't even really done. My problem is that I'm bad at getting my homework done, basically.
Well, we historically, the housing board has operated much differently than most of the other boards in town. Namely, we don't have a secretary. We, took the attitude that we should distribute the job. And I'm wondering whether that would be something that we should reconsider. I mean, there are some people that are good at it, others that are not. Maybe we should elect a secretary. What do you think about that?
Is there anybody who likes doing notes or is more comfortable doing notes?
Well, it's definitely time consuming and burdensome. I sympathize with you when I'm taking minutes. I'm usually up till midnight that night so that I get it when it's fresh and I capture it and everything's clear. So, I mean, we could elect a secretary, but I also feel like it's nice to distribute that, I feel like it's nice to share that load because it is time consuming, tedious. There is minutia. I mean, I certainly sympathize with there being a learning curve, but
yeah, it's not necessarily a learning curve. I'm asking at this point for an accommodation because
I think if we did the four of us, right? So if it's Joe, myself, Diane, and then Brittany, I think the four of us can rotate because I certainly don't want to get stuck doing it every single month.
There's definitely other things that I can help support the board with, but note taking, doing minutes is really not one of them, especially
should be
now.
Fine.
Well, all of us have our strengths and things that are not strengths. So it's a reasonable thing. I mean, so what, do we want to leave it that way? I'll redo the schedule and leave you out, Finn, and everybody else, except I don't want to take notes because it's hard for me to,
Yeah, I think Corinne said it best. The four of us, the four remaining folks can swap it out and share that.
Very well. Very well. I'll redo the schedule for minutes taking, and I will try to make a recording. As a matter of fact, I bought some little widget that actually records it and does AI translations and everything else. So we'll see how that works. So I might be able to make it easier for people.
Yeah, the AI note takers I've found are extremely helpful. Like when I worked at Elliott, we were just starting to try out an AI note taker for our like Zoom meetings. Yeah. And that was extremely helpful. But I was also in a habit of routinely at the end of my workday having an hour that I set aside for doing all of my progress notes and doing all of my documentation and stuff. I don't have those routines anymore. So like doing any kind of paperwork stuff is kind of a nightmare for me right now.
Good. Well, okay. I am recording this, and it will come up with an AI. And for all I know, the Zoom recording we are now making, the Wendy's making.
Oh, okay. So it's the AI through the Zoom meeting.
I guess the town must have that capability.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It gets downloaded to the cloud. I think it's like a full replay of this whole thing.
So just
but at least there are programs that will take a transcript and use AI to transform them into a narrative. Now, you can't completely trust that narrative, but sometimes it's helpful.
I mean, it's a good guide for when you do sit down and write the notes, though.
So I could do that with my little widget, and maybe Wendy can do that with her Zoom recording. I really don't know what the town's capabilities are.
So just to circle back to the last month's meeting minutes. So I understand that they're partially done. I'm more than happy to kind of wrap them up. So Finn, do you want to try to connect offline and we can go from there, or can you send me the recording?
Yeah, I can email you and then schedule a time to sit down and crunch through them, because it's in a Google Doc, so we can collaboratively work on it remotely.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So next month we'll have this practically perfect document, right?
Yeah, it'll be beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, and another item that we went by when you weren't here, Finn, is the co-housing. And there's one thing about co-housing. I've been thinking about it. It is an intriguing idea. But I was trying to think to myself, what should the next step be? I mean, it really is not right to, in my mind, to think about it in general, but then somehow not try to apply it to Boxborough. So what do we need to do? What do we need to consider to see whether co-housing could be useful somewhere in Boxborough? And I guess that's the reason I put it on the agenda. I just wanted to see if we could come up with some kind of a game plan to just see if we can it fits Boxborough or not somewhere.
Yeah. So here's my thoughts. I have worked over the last decade with a lot of different people who are interested in co-housing or some form of intentional community. At one point, I was working with a couple of people, and we were trying to establish a community up in New Hampshire. And we did do a meeting with Charles Durrett, who was the author of that Creating Co-Housing book, and talked to him about, okay, what is the process for getting the co-housing company as a developer if we want to develop a co-housing community. And he said that his retainer at the time was $5,000, and that and we were like, well, when do we know as a community that we're ready to do that, to pay that and get that process started? And he says, when you have the land. So theoretically, the town of Boxborough could pay a developer like Charles Durrett of the co-housing community, or perhaps another developer that specializes in co-housing or intentional communities, to help with developing a co-housing community of some kind that is affordable housing specific.
Well, see, we have this property on Stowe Road. Now, granted, it's in the fire station discussion, and who knows how that's going to come out.
Mhm.
However, if they decide that they don't want it for the fire station, we should do something. So, I mean, one of the questions that in the bottom in my mind is, would Stowe Road be a good place for a nice little co-housing development? I don't know. I don't know the practical aspects of it.
I think so. One of the concerns I have about the Stowe Road property is that it's a little bit small and we're limited in the number of units you can have on it. I believe, what is it? Like you can maybe do 10 to 12 units in it.
It's a little bit about 15, I think. It depends on the size
Okay.
unit, but
so for a good co-housing community, ideally you would like 32 to 34 households within that co-housing community. And that would be a little tricky squeezing that into that space. I don't think it would be even possible. However, there are some examples of co-housing communities and intentional communities that have been successful that are smaller than that. It's just not as ideal. I think given the positioning and the location of the Stowe Road property, because it's close to your town hall, your church, and some local amenities, right? And as the town develops and the town center develops more, we can continue to improve on that. It could be feasible to have a smaller co-housing community, but we could still do the same thing. Put a developer on, Charles Durrett's, co-housing company on retainer, and they help with the process of not just developing the property, but also developing the community that will live there. So they would help us with vetting people into it and getting them involved in the development of that property as affordable co-housing.
Well, that might be worth doing, but I think you can see where I'm going with this. I mean, we shouldn't just philosophize about it.
Mm-hmm.
We should actually, see whether it'll work in Boxborough or not. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So I've already talked to Ian, I've talked to Alec, I've even talked to Michael about, the co-housing ideas. It is very much within the it fits. My understanding is it fits with the current town planning. And it fits with the ideals. When I was looking over the the 2030 plan, it really, or not the 2030 plan, with the 2025 one?
Oh, the master plan, I think.
The master plan, yeah. Yeah. When I was looking over the master plan and reading through it, there's a lot of points that a co-housing community and we can even have it have sustainable focus. That master plan can be the guide for how to develop that, community. And I feel like, especially the co-housing communities that we have neighboring to us, it fits very much with kind of what you're going for in this community, and also maintaining the rural character of the town that people talk about all of the time.
Well, you know what? Tell you what. Why don't we make sure we have an item along those lines at the next meeting? We'll just try to look at the practical aspects or the nuts and bolts of it, and see what we should do to look into it.
Yeah.
And you've already started that, so
yeah.
So
one of the other action steps that Charles Durrett had recommended was educating as many people as possible on different, co-housing and intentional community models. And of course, he suggested distributing his book. So we can do something more as an educational campaign as the housing, and run it as the housing committee, and do a book club sort of thing, where we invite people in the community who are interested in developing, affordable housing, alternatives, and brainstorming those, because there's a lot of energy around like how are we going to address this housing crisis right now. There's a lot of energy around that. We as the housing board could host like a book club that we invite members of Boxborough, members of the town, to come out and discuss all these ideas and the things that they would like to see, and pick one of the books around these ideas.
Okay, well, look, let's talk about it next time. And I just want to let you know what I'm thinking, and maybe Finn and you and I should try to put together something to for an educational solution or something that'll move us down the path.
Is this something that we want to like continue to think about? And when we talk about the housing production plan, like could a commitment to co-housing or like an investment in developing co-housing?
We could if we convince ourselves that it's a suitable fit for Boxborough. I mean, I don't know that we have yet. So but, I mean, that would be could be part of the housing production plan. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Al. I like Finn's suggestion of maybe we have like it's not a listening session, but like an invitation to a community conversation about what, this is a model we're seeing in our region. Here's some resources. Like, let's just talk about it. That could be a good first step to see what interest exists.
Like an affordable housing alternatives brainstorm session for Boxborough.
Yeah, I mean,
because there's other things that we can do for affordable housing too, right? Like I went to that the important thing up in Devon's, whatever it was called, with whoever the important people were telling me interesting things about zoning and stuff. If you want to, Al, if you're able to like refresh my memory on.
It was the Devon's talk was about zoning and how you could cram more houses by creative zoning, basically. I think.
Like there's a lot of different ideas I've been kind of spitballing and throwing around with different people. And there's other people in other towns that are also dealing with these questions and trying to tackle this. So there's a lot of energy to harness, and I think we need to get I think as the housing board, we are definitely at a place where we should be petitioning some feedback more directly from the townspeople.
Tell you what, why don't we see if we can put something together? We'll talk about it next meeting.
Okay.
That's why it was on the agenda. You might have wondered because you gave a wonderful presentation last meeting on it, but I just I've been thinking about it.
I did send the little co-housing primer with all the resources and everything. Did everybody get that, or did I miss it?
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't respond, but I did start reviewing some of the materials. Thanks for sharing that. I was like listening to some of the articles and reading some of the shorter things.
Yeah,
I plan to get a lot further in this than I.
Yeah, excellent.
I bought a book.
Well, you can even just like once you get through those initial chapters that are kind of explaining what co-housing is, most of the book is just examples of communities that they've developed. Just pick one or two of those different communities at random and just kind of read through it and see what the process was like for them. And like that, a lot of those also were developed by the co-housing company. So that can give you an idea of what that process would be like.
Let's see if we can get something more concrete together. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me move on. Let's see, what is the next item? The Boxborough Rental Assistance Program. Wendy, I guess you're on and what's the status? Any problems?
We're good on that. You can just
everything's perfect there.
Everything's perfect.
Find this.
We just have the public hearing on Thursday, but for the FY27 BRAP. So
okay, one of my tasks for this meeting was to write a letter about estate planning. So let me see if I can put it up on the screen. I'm not sure. It's been so long. Documents.
I could also share it, Al, if it's easier, and then you can like facilitate. I have it up.
You can share it?
You just have to give me permission. I just requested permission to share, but I already have it up. And if it's easier for me to be the one to kind of manage the Zoom piece of it and for you to, yeah.
Go ahead,
Are you
Brittany.
sure we're talking about the
I
same
just made
document?
you a co-host, Brittany.
Perfect. All right. Oh, of course, my computer is making me give permission. Okay, one moment here. It's gonna make me restart my Zoom to do this, but it will be quick if everyone wants to commit to that.
I sent the letter to you in a separate email too.
Yeah, my computer because the Zoom application this is the first time that it's like requesting permission. It wants me to quit Zoom and restart it like right now. It will take 30 seconds potentially. I know. I thought it was going to be faster. I'm sorry.
Brittany, Al, sorry to cut in. This is the estate planning letter, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Bear with me. I'm just going to pull it up and I can screen share it for you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's my first time having Zoom on this computer. I didn't realize I was going to have to give it special permissions. Thank you, Alec.
No problem. That's what you got us here for.
They don't pay you enough for this.
There it is. Thank you, Alec.
Yep.
We'll get this right. I sent this to Ian, and I haven't heard back from him. I don't know. He may have improvements, but this is the letter. And Ian was going to talk to David about it because I don't want to have this be sent in to whoever and David be totally surprised by it. I think he's a friend and want him to stay a friend. So anyway, this is the letter that I wrote. This is a draft. And if there's any improvements any of us have, make them. But I would like to send this out to someone to help David in his cause to at least get this issue to the top of the heap, which is what he said was the problem.
So I do have some comments on edits.
Are we live editing?
I can't because it's not. I don't think I can do this.
I can certainly
maybe
just.
Alec could do it.
Yeah, if the board wants to, I can just make edits as we talk through them here. It's up to you, Mr. Chairperson, whether you want to do
Go ahead and
live
make edits along the way.
Okay.
So, Corrine, you had something?
Yeah. So in the second paragraph, second sentence, starting with since. So it says, since this is prohibited, but truly, when this problem arose, it wasn't prohibited in our deed riders, but it was prohibited per, DHCD, whatever they're called now. So I think we should.
No, whatever.
EHOC, whatever it is. But since, this was prohibited by, exactly.
Good.
Is it even prohibited or is it was it like, I remember this being a sticking point where it was like, it wasn't prohibited. It was that EOHC interpreted this one rider and applied it broadly, right? So could we say like based on the EOHC determination or like, could we avoid the language of.
I think Alec has come up with something there. Looks good to me. Interpretation.
Okay, sure.
That's what you were saying, right?
It's
not a matter of law. It's just how they decided to view it.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yep.
Or we could, since this is prohibited by EA's interpretation, that sounds a little rough, but yeah.
If you put an and there, by an and EOHLC interpretation.
Or like, could it be like based on EOHLC logic or like based on like EOHLC like best practice or based on EOLHC wisdom that this was prohibited, something like that. I know that this is kind of minutia, but
Yeah,
Well,
no, but I think it's important.
it is sort of an opinion.
It
Our
is.
guidance, our
Right.
interpretation is what it is. I mean, I don't know why and it doesn't make any sense. So I'm reluctant to attach the word logic to this in any sense. But
yeah, so okay, fair enough.
So then the next paragraph down where it says alternatives starts off as alternatives such as adding another person to the deed can achieve the same. But we also need to put that that's not best practice, right? Because we've been told already by David, and I believe there was another attorney that we had spoken to at some point that basically said that can put the home at risk, right? So if you're adding people to the deed and let's say, God forbid, they get sued, something like that, the home could then be, so that needs to be added in there.
okay, so you want to put a phrase like are not available to every owner of it and may put the home at risk.
It's not best practice. I mean, we could put the home at risk.
Yeah.
And then
is not available to every owner of an affordable home.
It's maybe not an option, right? Because some people don't have other people to put on their deed. So, and
they may have other people, but they don't want them near their house. They don't want.
However, this is not best practice, and
right.
It's not an option for every homeowner. So instead of available, it should probably be option.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think this next paragraph where it starts off, it is a real problem. We might want to beef this up, and this might have to take this offline because we are having a real problem with Summer Road. Like this is so time consuming, both from the housing board perspective, from the paid folks at the town. I mean, and it would have been so much more simpler if there was a trust and everything was kind of just easily legally accessible.
You know what, Corinne, that's a great point. And I almost feel like that's a more relevant testimony than saying that like the town previously worked with officials to extradite these like other two affordable units that were placed into trusts. Like that's not really making our case or like helping our case, but referencing 118 Summer Road and saying like we are currently undergoing like a massive, headache, hurdle, obstacle with a unit that has a will, that has an inheritor, and like still it's a mess, right? Like, isn't that more demonstrative than saying,
right?
We that's a concrete example of the problem. That's what it is.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like the second paragraph, instead of saying recently, we discovered that two owners of affordable units put their homes into trusts and then we worked to have them remove it. That's not really helping our case. I think we should say like recently we've like worked on the case.
I thought it would be good to put that in there because it makes it clear why we're now concerned with it. I mean, it's been that way for a long time, but the truth is we only became concerned about it when we had to deal with this problem.
Right.
And then we started thinking about it. I mean,
so I feel like maybe it's better use of time if we went offline and just kind of, because this isn't going anywhere, right? Like these rules, these laws, these things, this isn't going anywhere. So if we take another few weeks to edit whatever and bring it back to the next meeting, I feel like that's okay. Just because we're getting on to 8:20 now and we still have a bunch more stuff to get through.
Well, I don't know that, I mean, I guess you could say that the problem has existed for a long time, and if it exists one more month, then it's not a serious problem. So that would be fair. I mean, if you could, if all of you folks could take a look at the document, make suggestions, comments, and send them to me, I will put together a revised document, send it out to everybody, and maybe we can talk about it at the next meeting. How's that for a plan?
Yeah, because I was actually thinking if we swapped that, like, so like what Brittany was saying, that's more relevant, that's more hard hitting, and then we could couple it with, and we've since pulled other houses out, so we could have this issue that we've just talked about happen again. So I think I think they're all relevant, but I think just the formation of them might need some revamping.
Okay. Tell you what, if you put those comments and edits in and send them to me, I'll see if I can come up with something that is along those lines. And I haven't heard from Ian. I mean, I would want to make sure that we're not going to get David in any trouble or anything like that. But I presume he'll be happy with this. Okay.
Thanks, Alec.
All right. All right. What's next? Alec, how is the business of getting out the letters for the HOPE program going? I know that you and Mary were going to see if we could use the mail merge and get those letters out. But do you know if anything's happened on that?
Yep. And speaking with Mary, those were slated to go out no later than today. Originally, they were planned to go out last week, so they may have already made it out the door, and people might be getting it as early as today or tomorrow. But the latest that they were going out was today, so they're in the mail. They're in people's mailboxes in the coming week, and we should start getting inquiries, I'd assume, before the holidays.
Outstanding.
So.
Well,
to follow up on that, then would I be able to get like a packet that I could go around and a list of the units that it's been sent to so that I can do the door-to-door thing that we talked about last meeting?
you could do that, or we could have an in-person seminar. Would that be more convenient for you? I mean,
it'd be convenient for us, but would it be more convenient for the people in those units?
I am not sure because I know when somebody comes to my door, I kind of tense up. I don't know. People are leery about stuff like that. I don't know, honestly.
I'm gonna like I champion your energy. I genuinely do. I think it's wonderful, but I really am gonna caution against doing this door-to-door thing. I feel like when we're communicating, we should be communicating as a whole entire group. I think it should be, if we did like an invite thing, we could mix it into like a holiday thing. I mean, I don't know what our funds look like, but maybe if we did a raffle, like a $25 gift card to Home Depot, like come on in, and who knows, we could recruit more people to the housing board, something like that. But I always just get concerned if we're rapping on people's doors and maybe there's something that's misconstrued and, they'll come back and say, it could be a liability on us. Well, so-and-so was at my door and she said that I could get $10,000, right? When we know, in fact, that wasn't said. Like, I genuinely have some concerns about that. So I feel like if we are going to promote this program, we should do it as a whole and have folks come to the housing board.
I'm open to that idea. I like that idea.
We could try to put that together. Finn, you could be the master of ceremonies and
great.
Explain it to everybody. And
I mean, yeah, if you guys slap together a slideshow for it, and we can kind of walk through the program and how it can help people, and we can try to,
I think the main thing would be to give them the opportunity to ask questions. And I mean, if some of us have time to show up there, it would give them time to see that we're not really all that horrible humans.
Come meet the housing committee. And this would also be a good thing to do ahead of starting to do maybe some like community brainstorm stuff about affordable housing alternatives.
Right. So let's see if we put something like that together, and it would be easier on you, Finn. I mean, so it might be better all the way around. So let's do that.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds like a plan. And when do we want to try to offer that like seminar by, so that they're going to be getting, the Hope program information in the mail this week, and hopefully we'll have applications before the end of the holidays. But if they need extra support in understanding the Hope program, before then, do we want to do this seminar before we reach the holidays, or maybe like right after?
I bet right after is a better time because everybody's going to parties and stuff like that. It's probably going to be availability issues. So I would think that right after would be a sensible time.
Right. So maybe the first week of January.
Yes.
First or second week of January, maybe.
Yeah.
And then, hey, your New Year's resolution to get your house in order. Help.
Well, but I think this is a good thing. I mean, it's good to meet these people in person. I mean, we're not some sort of faceless entity. We're fellow Boxborough residents and everything. And I think it's important for them to know that we're just doing the best we can, muddling through,
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay. Let's see, what do we got here? And I sent the packet out, but that's and the packet contains the letter and also the application and the program guidelines. And I believe we are going to post the guidelines and the application on the web too, in case more than one person, a person has more than one application or something like that. So, all right. What's next? Have I taken care of old business? I think I have. Now I did not get as far on the annual report. That's due, I forgot, in early January. I would say about a little over half done with it. Here's my plan. I think I will finish it and send it out and ask for any additions or comments. I mean, it could well be that I missed something or I try not to. And then at the next meeting, which I would like to schedule an additional meeting in early January. We can discuss it, approve it, hopefully, and submit it.
Yeah, it's due by January 15th.
Yeah. So I guess so I think we can do that. I mean, I had hoped to get a pretty decent draft for this meeting, but I didn't do that. So I'll work on it some more and get it out to you guys, and then we can you can make changes, suggestions. We'll see if we can make it practically perfect, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting. Sound like a plan? All right. And the rentals of 40B ownership units. This is a perpetual item that keeps appearing, and we keep bypassing it. But should we talk about it now?
No, I think
all right. We'll bypass it again. This will be a record.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. And Hope program. Have we discussed everything you think we should talk about covering this? You had proposed this Hope program updates.
Yeah. So what I had suggested to Diane, because she had emailed about wanting to know agenda items, and I had suggested that we just kind of keep this as just a running line item. So then when we have applications to look at during the meeting, I don't know, it's just like a placeholder there, if that makes sense.
Maybe I misunderstood. I put it in there. Okay, so there's nothing. We had no applications.
Right, but just moving forward, just because, just to be prepared for every meeting that there might be applications to discuss.
Wonderful. Well, we're doing great here. Okay, Alec, you're on.
All right, we're ready to start talking financing for your housing production plan?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I believe Al circulated it out, but I did scope out some of the different options you could take for costing this out. They range from entirely grant funded, where we split the cost across a couple different grant programs, all the way up to entirely out of the Affordable Housing Trust, which, while it gives you the greatest control, it's going to ding you up for $75,000. So my expectation is we're going to land somewhere further on the grant funding scale, if not entirely there, but it's ultimately your discretion. It's your planning document. It's your project. I commend you once again for taking this on. As we heard throughout the MBTA community's process, this was a sticking point for some. And you are in the unique position where, being a community over 10% SHI, you have carte blanche to be as creative as you like. Topics like co-housing are exactly the kind of thing that you can undertake in a housing production plan to decide if it's right for Boxborough, what parcels and regions it's appropriate in, as well as other strategies, whether that be adaptive reuse, retrofit of existing spaces, or outright new construction on land in control by the housing board. The housing production plan costs round about $75,000. These have gone up over the years, as have most consulting services. 10 years ago, you could have done this for $50,000 or less. That's just not the case anymore. We did have our regional councils of government share with us, and I believe Ian might have brought it to your last meeting, a couple examples of some scopes they've recently done. Ours will be fairly similar if you go the regional councils of government route, which is the reason that there's so much urgency behind having this discussion tonight, and why I did ask Al to have it added to your agenda. The first of the two grant programs that we've identified to cover the cost of this, if that's the direction you choose to go, is due by Monday. I can write that in about 5 hours. I can hammer it out. It's very quick. It's very easy. I know we'll get the funding for it, but I need authorization from the board to apply for it because it's your planning document. That's specifically the DLTA funds. It's from the regional councils of government, and it locks us into working with them. You've probably heard the group MAPC, or the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission or Council. We work with them all the time. They're our regional councils of government. They did our master plan update. They've done other planning documents. They did our Green Communities program most recently, and they were our technical assistance provider throughout the MBTA community process. So they have deep familiarity with Boxborough, with housing in Boxborough, and recent familiarity. They're current with what's going on. So if you would like to pursue grant funding at one of those three levels that outline grant funding, we should have that discussion tonight, and we should kind of just pick the path we're going to go forward on. Do we want to bring up those four options, talk about the risks and benefit of each, or do people have strong opinions that they want to go with one and we want to just start the discussion there?
I think concerns last time, if I remember, was being roped into something if we were doing the grant option. And I feel like Ian was going to look into that further, but if you have more information, I would like to see that, because you did just mention that we were on the hook if we had to go with this other one, right? The DLT would be on the hook 100% to go with them.
Yes, if you choose to use DLTA funding, you must work with the regional councils of government. That's the only thing you're on the hook for. You have complete control over your scope of work. You don't have to do specific strategies or propose specific things because you're over that 10% threshold. There are just minimum guidelines that your plan has to follow. You have the complete freedom otherwise. And just to speak to MAPC, I know in the options I outlined, I did note the private firms usually have the highest and best technology available to them. They might be able to get a little more creative, but MAPC can do a fantastic job. I don't want to disparage them in any way, shape, or form. Our regional councils of governments are fully equipped to do work like this.
And then if we do go the route of the full grant funding, like if we get, you said it's most likely 100% chance that we would get, a grant. I don't know how much that looks like, but let's say they say, yep, we can give you $10,000. We then need to pony up the rest of that money somehow once we're sort of approved, right? We can't then just back out and say, oh, geez, we wanted to do this. We felt like we had the funds, but now we don't, and we have to kind of retract, but that's not an option then?
No, not necessarily. So
Okay.
just because they make an award doesn't mean you have to accept it. But my expectation is that MAPC would either fund the majority of this plan or they would fund a large percentage, probably around the tune of 20%. The reason being is that that allows them to then match it with a state grant funding option. So if you wanted to start this work in February and you wanted to offset the cost by, let's call it 20 to 30%, then MAPC will cover that cost outright. We would put up the rest of the money. If the rest of the money is a little too much, then what we would do is we would apply for a state community planning grant, and we would use the MAPC money as a grant match. That's a typical strategy we undertake here in Boxborough. Just because of the demographics of the community, the average income level, we don't score as highly. So we do need to come in with larger match funds, but our regional councils of government can often provide that for us. We've really, not to toot our own horn, but in the planning office, we've cut our teeth on this. We match grants with other grant funding so that you, the town, don't end up having to pay for it.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm all for the doing it the grant way, right? So as little as possible comes out of our coffers, because we are limited, right? And we are trying to do the hope, and we are trying to fund other things moving forward. So which one of those options that you have would allot us the most grant money and the least out-of-pocket cost?
That would be to do a DLTA grant match to a state grant award, with the expectation you would start the work in January of 2027. And then Joe, I saw you had your hand up too. If you want to jump in there, I know you're familiar with these documents. You've used them in your own workplace as well.
Yeah, I want to make sure we get clarity on Corinne's financial question. But I am a proponent of going the route that Alec has laid out. For a couple of reasons. Well, for a few reasons. For stewardship of cost, I think it's reasonable to work with the RPA. I was part of the MBTA 3A communities process, and the technical support they provided, specifically the individuals, the planners they provided, and the level of analysis, responsiveness, was extremely sufficient for our purposes, and I think would be the same in an HPP. And then also an advantage of working with the RPA is they're a quasi-state, they're a special state agency, so we would not have to go out for procurement necessarily to get quotes or do an RFQ, what have you. We could directly sole source work with MAPC, I believe.
Yes, that is correct. Because there are regional councils of government, we can contract directly through them for consulting services with no procurement obligations.
So, Joe, excuse my ignorance here, because I don't know, everyone's throwing out these acronyms. So is RPA the same as the DLTA that Alec was talking about?
So RPA, Regional Planning Agency, which is the MRPC. He says Council of Governments. It's tossed around a few different ways. It's called an RPA, an RPC, Regional Planning Commission, or a Council of Governments. DLTA is District Local Technical Assistance. That is state money, Corinne, and it flows through MRPC and is made available to their geography of towns.
Okay, so when I asked Alec what was the most cost-effective way for us to do this, and he suggested the DLTA to the state grant award, whatever the heck that other is, to start.
Yeah, so my understanding kind of
2027. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does make sense to me. I believe we would use that DLTA, which is available to us as a town within our MRPC's district. We would use that as a match for this community planning grant. So we wouldn't have to provide a match out of the general fund, out of our pocket. We would use that DLTA match to offset for purposes that Alex said, because we have to compete a little bit at a higher level because our demographics. So we do have a higher match. We'll use that DLTA, get the grant, and that'll cover 100% of the housing production plan.
Well, that sounds wonderful to me. I mean, we have to get it done. And if we can get it where we're not having to pay for it, I think that just is a no-brainer, right?
I think that strategically it's a good option. It might be a little bit slower than going with a private. I mean, it would be more costly to go with a private sector firm and go with, but strategically, I think it's important to us too, because when we do ask for CPA money and things like that, we're not asking it. We can show them if necessary. Hey, we get we get grant resources as much as we can. So we're only asking for the real priority needs, such as helping our residents and whatnot. So I think the grant route is a really good approach.
Yeah, I agree.
So
my question was going to be exactly what Corrine was just getting at, which is what are the disadvantages to going the government grant funded route, the DLTA and MAPC route, besides the timeline, which Joe just spoke to, like maybe it taking longer. Are there any other limitations or things we should be concerned about? Any other cons, drawbacks?
The only real con is the timeline. And I outlined that for 3 reasons. 1, we're not starting work for a year. That's unfortunate, but it sometimes is the reality of government. We always get criticized. We move slowly, but that's because we're trying to maximize the available dollars without burdening the tax base. So I feel comfortable enough doing that. That's fine. Unfortunately, that also might mean the loss of momentum, though. Right now, there is a lot of momentum in the discussion of housing in Boxborough. It was a robust discussion. We heard great feedback from our finance committee, from our select board, candidly criticizing the planning board for not doing a more housing productive solution to MBTA communities. And so there's momentum to say, all right, if we're doing this housing production plan, we might have the buy-in of those groups. They might be willing to weigh in more heavily. They're paying attention to it. And this is the planning document that would be worked on this year. So you would not be sharing the spotlight with another planning document, which leads me to reason number 3, or disadvantage number 3. Next year, we will be working on our open space and recreation plan, looking for our funding sources there. You won't be competing for funding with that because the timelines are offset in that regard, but you'll be competing for brain space with the members of the public who we need to buy in and pay attention. I do have an interim solution, if you mind just bearing with me a couple more seconds. I know this is long-winded, but between Joe and myself, we probably have the skill set to pull the state level data, the same level data that the regional council will be using if they're drafting this plan for us. And we could maybe do something in the summer just as a brief presentation overview, do it as like a public meeting just to say, here are your existing conditions. Here are your current demographic levels. Here's your current rental versus ownership. Candidly, I heard a lot of misinformation when we were going through MBTA communities. While it was a palatable experience and it was amicable with the community, there was still a lot of misinformation out there. And so if in the middle of all this, we do 1 or 2 info sessions to build awareness of the work that's coming down the pipeline, we provide the correct information, I think we can kind of maintain it, probably not keep exactly the same level of momentum, but maintain the discussion ongoing to get you to that 1-year mark.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
One question I have, as you said, we're kind of in a unique position because we have already achieved our 10%. And are these MAPC, how unusual are we? Are we going to look like some kind of a unicorn that they don't know how to deal with? Can we interact with them and fashion a somewhat unusual housing production plan that is consistent with our unusual circumstance?
Really great question. You are a regional planning or a planning consultant's dream. They want to work with a community that's over this threshold because it means they can be more creative. They're not driven by getting to this number. They're allowed to let their planning education, their practical experience run wild. They can get as creative, they can be as open-minded as they want with it, and they have a partner in the town of Boxborough that's already gotten over this threshold. So coming into that, they know you're an active partner in the process.
Okay.
Not only are you going to have a good experience working with whoever you choose on this, they're going to be eager and excited to work with you.
Yeah, because one of my hopes is that I guess my engineering background is showing, but I mean, I wonder if there's an optimum profile of housing in a community. Obviously, at the extremes, there are non-optimal points. I mean, you wouldn't want all affordable housing, nor would you want all rich people. And somewhere in the middle, there could be some sort of a model that Boxborough should strive for. And I mean, I don't know. That's just one of the things. That's an example of some unusual things that I think I would like to talk to them about.
I think, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please. You had your hand up. Yeah.
First, I had a comment on the downside of working with the grants, the time delay being a downside. We can actually use that to our advantage, like I was saying, and if we want to be creative with the planning and expand on the possibility of more intentional community, co-housing community models for affordable housing, we can take that time to focus on educating the people of Boxborough on all these different models, doing those brainstorm sessions, doing these various events throughout the year, to try to continue the conversation and make sure that we can bring the community into that creative process as much as possible, and not just have some developers that we hire on, doing all of the creative work. Actually engage the community in the creative work. So doing that education piece and engaging the community that whole time works to our advantage for building any kind of intentional community. That said, my question about the grants, it sounds like it's a lot of state agencies. How much are these grants dependent on federal funding and federal programs? And is that a risk vector for us with a lot of the cuts that we've seen coming down the pipes? Because some of the national level political stuff might not be resolved by the time we want to be done with this next year.
Yeah, so really great question. We get this a lot about any of the grant funding we're seeking right now. There's very low risk that any of this funding would be jeopardized. DLTA funding, and Joe, do jump in here, but if I'm inaccurate, but my recollection of DLTA funding, the funds that I would start with, that comes directly from the state. And it's state grant dollars that are raised through state tax revenue. So that's not subject to federal policy or discretion. The state grants that we would then apply for in May, I know for certain, are entirely state tax funded. So a grant, again, not at the discretion of the federal government. In that regard, they're totally protected. The only grant dollars I would expect that we could potentially use for something like this would be CDBG funding, which I don't know that this would be entirely accurate, but we also are not ineligible for community for a project like this. We wouldn't be competitive for that. And so the federal funding route really isn't an option for us on this project.
So not likely a risk factor. Okay, that sounds good.
One thing Al mentioned is, seeking out, that even mix or what have you. I think the housing production plan could guide some of those creative discussions. And I think something close that I think you mentioned, Al, something that's been close to kind of my interest is middle housing, kind of our existing middle. And that's a good thing to have. And I think our production plan could talk about that. And then also talking about, or another interest of mine that's close to my heart is, our multifamily properties and the preservation of those, which are often dated in terms of construction, but are that naturally occurring affordable housing in communities. And we're lucky to live or we're lucky to be situated where we are, to be able to work with some organizations that could help us with that from the nonprofit side, around our multifamily units and whatnot. All things to be explored in a housing production plan.
Yeah, there's a whole spectrum of housing that's available. And the question is, what should we be striving for? I mean, I don't know that's been defined, and whether that is too big a question to answer in a housing production plan, I do not know, but it would be interesting to get people's opinions of it, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree with Joe and Corinne and endorse the pathway that Alex proposed, the DLTA grant match with state grant award, like pathway forward, where it's the zero cost to the trust, option 2, I suppose, from the list.
Okay, Alec, would you like us to make a formal motion to that effect?
Yes, Mr. Chairperson, you would seek a motion from the board to proceed under option 2, a combination of DLTA and state grant funds.
Yes. Okay. I move that the board instruct Alec to pursue the option number 2 in his list, pursuing the DLTA and state grant funds for the production of a housing production plan.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? Very well. Let me do a roll call vote. Brittany?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Corrine?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So the motion passes unanimously. We are pursuing option number 2 on the list.
Fantastic. So just a quick primer on next steps. I'm going to go behind the scenes. I'm going to get in touch with the regional planning agency and just put it on their radar that this is a project we want to work with them on. It's just the basic networking you do ahead of time. I already know of the 3 planners who would get assigned to this project. There's about 3, I think, seniors in the housing division that would probably work on something like this. So I'll reach out to them, get it on their radar. It'll help us score more highly. I will submit this application either Friday or Monday morning in advance of the deadline. And then I will forward along the confirmation when we do receive an award and the approximate amount. So things will go a little quiet for the next month or so. I would say coming out of the holidays, if during your January meeting, you want to start talking high level about some of those topics you think you want to explore, like co-housing or potential other topics, it always helps to start generating a list. I'm going to generate a standard list for the sake of our application, but we're not tied to that. We're not wedded to it. Be thinking over the next 2 months what you'd like this plan to accomplish, what you'd like to explore. And if there's any demographics or areas you specifically want to target in your planning process. And by February, we should get authorization to start communicating directly with the regional planning agency, who will then help me with the state grant later in the year.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your work.
Thank you very much, Alec.
Absolutely. Happy to help on it.
Okay, let me see. Now I think that brings us down to the last item. And I noticed that we are going to have a huge void of meetings coming up. And I think it would be prudent to schedule a meeting somewhere in between. I think that because if you figure it out, I mean, our next scheduled meeting is January 27th. I mean, that's 8 weeks from now. And I believe that's too long. So I was looking at my calendar, and it looks like, for me at least, either Tuesday, January 6th, or Tuesday, January 13th would be good dates. What do you think about that? I mean, I'm just proposing that we could throw in another meeting. We could review, as I said, we could review the town report at that meeting, and we could also talk about housing ideas like co-housing and things like that, as we were discussing at that meeting.
So I just want to point out too, if Alec and the town has mailed out the applications for Hope, we might start getting some of those in as well.
Exactly.
And Al, you said that the annual report is due on the 15th, so we should definitely meet before January 15th if you're going to send out the draft and we're going to review it and you want to talk about it. I'm fine with either the 6th or the 13th.
The 6th would be better in terms of time.
6 is better for me because I'm away on the 13th.
That's my preference as well, because in fact, we have a regularly scheduled meeting on the 27th, as I said, of January. And I'd like to get back on schedule, but the 6th would be a reasonable time because there's only 3 weeks. There's 3 weeks then to the next meeting. And probably we're going to need a meeting anyway because there's going to be all kinds of stuff.
I mean,
like the housing production plan.
Is there a reason? Is there a reason we can't do December 30th?
Just the proximity to the new year.
Yeah, that's not a good time.
That's 2 days before New Year's Day. I did rule that out for that reason.
Okay.
Okay. The next question is:
did we want to?
Alec has his hand raised. I don't. If it sounds
I'm
like
sorry, Alec. You wanted to.
You're muted, friend.
I've only been doing these virtual meetings for 6 years now. You'd think I'd remember to unmute myself, but nonetheless, my question to you, Al, and back to the board as a whole is: do you want to do your executive session on this January 6th meeting, or do you want to schedule that sooner?
I think that sooner, actually.
So that's what I was going to actually ask, kind of piggybacking on that, is if we wait till January 6th, and I understand the holidays and whatnot, my concern is we have this open thing going on with Summer Road, and I would hate to continue, especially if we're talking about, and I know we're going to have the executive session, but should we do an executive session in like a week or less, and then possibly have another follow-up in December, and those that can show, and if not, they don't.
Yes, I think we have executive session in the next 2 weeks and keep that moving. And then we plan to have our regular monthly meeting on the 6th.
Because I think there's a grave concern here, especially with the frigid temperatures and the snow and all of this.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I
think my question is to Wendy: if we had an executive session on the 9th, in a week from now, would that be enough time for you to reach out to the realtor and propose applying for BAP and Hope and get a feel for if he would be able to cooperate with that process?
Yeah, I already texted him, but I haven't heard back.
Okay. But if we give him a week,
because sometimes he'll call me and he'll just say like I'm at my wit's end, and like
we're sitting here offering a resource, asking him.
No, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Your answer is that is enough time, Wendy?
I mean, if he answers me, I've already reached out to him, so.
And then when we have the executive session,
I mean, it should
have a little bit more information as to whether he'll be cooperative and helpful in that process, and we'll have a better idea of what our action steps should be.
So are you proposing a meeting December?
I would motion for to schedule an executive meeting a week from now on December 9th.
So I would caution the board against a motion. I do need to just coordinate with town council to confirm their availability, because it only goes so far if they're not available to us. I will reach out to town council tomorrow to confirm dates of availability with a preference for Tuesday, December 9th. And at that point, we'll reach back out to the board. I'll confirm with you first and get your authorization to schedule the meeting. But then through you and Wendy, we'll reach back out to the rest of the board to confirm the date. I will note, for executive sessions like this, we do typically do them via Zoom like this because it's at an odd hour. It's on an off day. So just be prepared for that.
Well, that was my next question. Well, I actually have two questions. First of all, I wanted to tell everybody I'm going to be out of town in Portland, Oregon, visiting my grandkids from December 17th through the 22nd. So, I'll be gone then. Hopefully none of this will get. And what about Zoom meetings? I mean, in the past, different members of different body entirely comprising the House Board has expressed strong feelings for in-person meetings, feeling being that there's better discussions. But we have new members, and it could be that we have collectively a different opinion. Should we be planning Zoom meetings instead of in-person meetings? Does anybody have an opinion?
I strongly prefer in-person whenever possible. I think it would be a good idea, and somebody had asked me about this with housing committee meetings, if they could hop on and join those meetings virtually, which we don't have the default option of. I would like to see, in person as often as possible, weather permitting. But every time we do an in-person, we also have a Zoom session going so that the public can, have more access to the meetings.
So you're in favor, I think we call those hybrid meetings.
Yeah.
You're in favor of
hybrid meetings going forward.
I think you can go ahead, Alec.
Mr. Chairperson, if I could, we in the land use office are fully skilled and able to transition the housing board to a hybrid meeting format that's typically held out of the Morris Hilberg room. You get the whole virtual meeting room on the big screen. All we ask, if we're going to transition you to a hybrid meeting, which we do encourage because it makes life easier both for myself and for Ian, and presumably for Wendy too, if she has other obligations simultaneous to your meeting nights. But all we ask is for one, what we call tech savvy board member, someone with a good, reliable laptop, who's willing to kind of help be our host in the room. But all it really is you just got to plug your device in. We've set up and downloaded everything ahead of time, worked with you, trained you on it, and then you just join a Zoom meeting and we can run everything from the comfort of home if we need to.
Well, I mean, if that's what the group prefers, that's what we should do. Any other thoughts?
I like the Zoom meeting platform. I used to be a proponent of in-person, but I think especially during the holidays where people may not always be physically available, having that option is nice. I like it. So that's my 2 cents.
Agreed. I think hybrid meetings are good for the public, for our town officials, and for us, especially through the winter season. And I'm happy to volunteer as a tech savvy person with a reliable device who can be present in the room. I've only ever missed one housing board meeting since I've joined. So I think that that's a reasonable commitment for me.
Joe, do you have an opinion?
I really appreciate the flexibility of the hybrid.
Well, it sounds like.
Do we move?
We didn't move anything. I was collecting the opinions, but maybe we should make a formal motion of it. I mean, in the past, the feelings have been strong, but we're a different group now, and it should.
The other thing is that moving it to hybrid also makes the sessions much more accessible, especially to some of our, low income people who are in affordable units in 40B who may have difficulty coming to an in-person meeting. It serves the public, as was mentioned, it serves the public, but in particular, it can be a good benefit to these people in affordable units who we want to nurture a better relationship with as the housing committee.
Okay, well, let me make a motion. I move that we have as our first option a hybrid meeting for future housing board meetings.
I second.
Okay. Further discussion? Let me poll Brittany.
Aye.
Finn,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Corrine.
Aye.
Okay, that's one. So we'll do that. And thank you for volunteering to help us, Alec. We probably need some help. Secondly, I wanted to propose that we schedule a meeting of the Housing Board, which will now be a hybrid meeting, on January 6th, 2026 at 7 o'clock. Just to consider various important topics.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion?
So I do, I'm fine with doing the January 6th, and I understand that we're going to do another executive session just to focus on Summer
Right.
Road, but I do think, and Finn mentioned this before, I do think we might want to consider, and I understand, I can appreciate it's the holidays, but we may want to have another potential meeting at the end of December, or middle of December, just because I am concerned if we are going to put something on for the beginning of December or for January for the HOPE program, we need to kind of coordinate that. And if people are sending in applications, even if we can't get to them immediately, which we do have like a caveat in there, at least we can acknowledge, we can send an email, we can give a phone call, something like that. Because I'm a little concerned that we've now sent this out. And granted, it was supposed to be 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, but now that we're sending this out, then, it's going to be radio silence for people.
Well, I don't think we have to wait for a meeting to acknowledge their application, do we?
I think
I feel
talking
like
about us doing a seminar discussing the resource and inviting people in person to, talk about that.
I think we can easily send a generic, thank you for applying to the HOPE program. The Boxborough Housing Board has received your application. We will review applications on a rolling basis in accordance with our regularly scheduled monthly meetings. If you have, we can send some sort of generic, something that indicates we've received it, and that gives us.
So that's a great idea. So who will let us know at the town, since we won't be there to physically check our mailbox?
Well, I in the letter, I asked they be sent to Alec, I think it was. So it will be Alec or maybe some of his gang.
Yeah, Mr. Chairperson, just looking back at everything, bear with me, I'm just pulling it up now, trying to get to the most recent draft and the final one that was ultimately sent out. But my recollection was, yes, you made me the administrative point of contact on this. So it would be me, or if I'm out of office for any reason, that would just be directly to Mary. Typically, when we have applications coming in, they all go to Mary anyways. If they were submitted virtually, it would be standard practice that we just send a confirmation email. That confirmation email would include the next available agenda when it could be discussed if they want to attend. Not an obligation to you to have to discuss it, but next available agenda that it could be discussed. And then a secondary confirmation would go back to the board, usually once every 2 weeks, just saying, here are the most recent batch of applications we've received, and confirmation responses were sent.
So wait, you said virtually, Alex. So I didn't know that we had a virtual option on there. I thought it was all hard copies being sent to the town hall. But do we have an email that they're being sent to? Because we certainly don't have a portal.
The very easy way to do it, most people can just go on our website and they can find, whether it's myself, Wendy, our emails are plastered all over those things. So sometimes you'll get people who, in fact, I'll say more often, you get people who put everything together and then send it to us and ask, do you need anything else? I will note your application doesn't explicitly say that it has to be hand delivered. It doesn't actually give very explicit direction as to, all it says is return completed application to Town of Boxborough, CO, Boxborough Housing Board. So that means they could, my interpretation by law, they could submit this in person, by mail, or by email, because email communication is an accepted practice by open meeting law standards. So if they were to contact the name listed on there via email, that would also be acceptable. So just going to have to keep a track on these, make sure that none slip through the cracks. But those are the three methods by which they come in. They'll get a response from us, presuming they've sent it by email or left us an email that we can respond to, and that'll include the next available date of a housing board
Can
meeting.
do you mind pulling that up? Because I thought that now of course I can't pull up my email. I apologize. I thought it said to mail it because we were originally, but now you're saying it doesn't say the actual address of the town.
I think Alex put it and it says just return it to the town hall address. Like return your completed application to.
Yeah, with the attention the housing board, I think.
Yes, that's correct. Bear with me while I
So
pull it.
there is a housing board mailbox. But Karen gets the mail every day too, Alex. So if she sees it, she can flag it. We can tell her.
Okay, so it's
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and it says literally return completed applications and pictures to Town of Boxborough, care of Housing Board.
Yeah.
It doesn't say by mail or.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
And we have the housing board mailbox right outside of Alex's office.
okay. So then somebody can then kind of just check the mailbox then, because I'm assuming that people, I mean, if they email it, great, but I think we didn't want to put the onus on just one particular person at the town. We were trying to carry this as much as we could as the housing board, since it's, our project. So, all right. So somebody can check in.
I mean, I'm happy to volunteer. Like, do we need like an alternating schedule? Like, every 2 weeks, one of us is going and checking the mailbox or something. I'm happy to volunteer to stop at Mill Road once a month or every other month or something to check it.
Wendy, I don't want to put more on your plate, but I'd imagine between the three of us, you, me, and Ian, we can just check it every day.
Yeah.
What we typically do is
help too. Steph's right outside there. Should do it.
Yeah, what we can do is whenever we have a new one come in, I mean, one of us is going to find out. People, the general public don't know that you have a mailbox in the back hallway of town hall. So odds are it's going to land on one of our desks one way or another. We will upload it.
Mailbox.
We'll scan it. We'll upload it into Dropbox and send you a link with all of the applications in it. And like I said, once a week, once every 2 weeks, we'll notify you of how many new ones you've received and where to find them.
Perfect. Okay.
That makes sense. And then we can move forward, because again, I just didn't want to throw this out there. And then if people didn't have, people had questions or something like that. So, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Corinne. I don't think we voted on the meeting on January 6th yet. Am I correct on that?
You're correct. That was the additional discussion piece just then.
Right. Oh, any more additional discussion? Okay, no. We shall now vote. Brittany?
Aye.
Finn?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Corinne?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that's what we're going to do. We'll have a meeting on the 6th, and the executive session we'll try to get as soon as possible, but that depends on what Alec finds about availability.
I do want to clarify, since I'm taking notes, before this last motion, there was a motion to do the hybrid meetings and for future meetings. Finn, was that you that seconded it, or was it Brittany? I'm sorry.
I believe I seconded it.
Okay, perfect. That's what I had written down. Thank you.
Hey, Alec, why don't you and I talk? Because I've been dealing mostly with Jonathan, so I can coordinate that meeting. So
sounds good.
We'll talk tomorrow.
Very good. Well, that's all I have. Unless you want to, go on and on, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
A second.
Okay. Take the vote. Brittany?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Corinne?
Aye.
and me, aye. So thank you so much for coming. I think we had a very productive meeting, and let's get to work.
Keep it going. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, figure out how to shut it off, Al. Can't
Yeah,
figure out
how
how
do I
to-
get? I'll be. This will
Oh, I
be
gotta stop the
forever. I'm just
recording,
gonna
too.
close the app. That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh, I gotta stop the recording.